Disaster at Ibrox, total dominance with no reward, and a result. Rangers fans still can't believe. Danny Rohl is refusing to hear the mentality talk after a brutal defeat on penalties. Andreas Skov Olsen is coming under serious fire after another empty showing, and the fallout is only getting uglier as shocking pitch invasion scenes drag the club into fresh chaos. This is the kind of result that does your head in for hours after the final whistle. You sit there, staring at nothing, asking the same question again and again. How in God's name did Rangers lose that? Because let's tell it straight. Rangers did not get played off the park. Rangers did not get outclassed. Rangers battered them, properly battered them. The game was almost played in one half. Celtic could barely get out. Even their own men on commentary were saying it. Pinned back, overrun in midfield. Couldn't string passes together, needed penalties as their best hope. And that is exactly what it looked like. From early on, Rangers had them shoved backwards. Mikey Moore was at the heart of everything. Tremidi was getting chances. Ramons was causing problems. Raskin and Diamand were snapping into tackles and winning the ball back. Time and again, Celtic gave it away, and Rangers came again and again and again. That is what makes this so hard to swallow. It was not a tight match where both sides had a proper go and one just edged it. No, this was one-way traffic for long spells. Rangers created chance after chance after chance. 24-1 in chances created, 24-1. Read that again and try not to lose your temper. A game like that should be finished. It should be put to bed. It should be 4, maybe more. But the ball would not go in. That was the curse of the whole afternoon. One blocked, one clawed away, one flashed wide, one scrambled off the line. One too many touches, one poor decision, one tame finish. It was like watching a door refuse to open no matter how hard you kicked it. And that is where the frustration starts to boil. Because Tremidi, for all the good he can do, for all the goals he gave Rangers in the last game and against Hearts, he can still drive you mad with the choices he makes. There were moments crying out for calm, for conviction, for one clean finish, and instead it broke down again. That was the story all day. Promise, pressure, then nothing. The sick joke in all this is that Celtic were dreadful. Dreadful. Their front line gave them nothing. Midfield got bullied. They finished normal time having offered next to nothing going forward. One shot in the whole 120 minutes. One. And still Rangers found a way to let those lot walk out of Ibrox celebrating. That is what makes people furious. Not just beaten by a side that looked there for the taking from the first whistle. Even when Tavernier came on, you felt the shift straight away. He gave Rangers quality from wide areas. He gave them delivery. He gave them danger. All of a sudden, there was real life in the box. The disallowed goal comes from that. Another chance rolls just wide. Crosses start causing chaos. And you're thinking, right, here it comes now. Rangers will force it. Rangers will find the one moment. But no. Even then, it would not break. Fernandez has the ball in the net, and it is ruled out for handball. Tremidi drags a big chance wide. The pressure keeps coming. The crowd can feel it. The whole stadium knows Celtic are hanging on by their fingernails. And somehow it still stays goalless. Then, penalties. And once it goes there, football becomes cruel. Tavernier hits the bar. Gassama clears it. Celtic score theirs. Rangers are left standing there after absolutely hammering these lot for 2 hours and getting nothing for it. Nothing. That is the word. Nothing. After it, Danny Rohl came out and pushed back at all the talk about mentality. And to be fair to him, you can see why. He said mentality should not be the story. And on this occasion, he has a point. Rangers did not play like a team hiding. They did not play like a team scared. They played like a team convinced they would beat Celtic. They pressed. They fought. They dominated territory. They created openings. He even said he was proud of the group, and you can understand that part too. But football does not hand out prizes for deserving it. It does not care who had the better attitude. It does not care who had 24 chances and who had one. The only thing it cares about is whether the ball hits the net, and Rangers failed at the one part that matters most. Rohl also gave Celtic's defense credit, and fair enough. Because when a team survives that much pressure, somebody at the back has done something right. Sinisalo made key interventions. Blocks flew in. Bodies were on the line. But let's not dress this up too nicely either. Rangers helped them. Rangers let them off. Rangers kept giving Celtic another life when the tie should have been dead and buried. And that is why this one stings even more than last week. Last week, Rangers threw away a lead. Today, they smothered the game and still found a way to lose it. That is harder to accept. Much harder. Because you can forgive being beaten by brilliance. You do not forgive wasting a match where the other lot offered next to nothing and still left with the result. So here we are again. Rage, disbelief. A day where Rangers did almost everything except the one thing they had to do. A day where the worst side won. A day where Ibrox watched those lots survive on scraps, crawl to penalties. then celebrate like they had produced some masterclass, when the truth is they were hanging on for dear life from start to finish. Drop your thoughts below. What did you make of the match, and what annoyed you the most? And then, just when you thought this day couldn't get any uglier, it spilled over into full-blown chaos on the Ibrox pitch. Because Celtic fans came pouring onto the park after the shootout, and once that happened, Rangers fans from the other end were never just going to stand there and clap politely. They came on as well. Then the whole thing turned into a proper disgrace. Police trying to keep the groups apart, flares going, objects getting thrown, bodies everywhere, tempers gone, and the whole stadium dragged into a scene that had nothing to do with football. Photos from the ground tell the story better than any polished statement ever could. One man appeared to be bleeding from the head. Emergency staff were dealing with casualties. Even stewards needed medical help. That is how far it went. Not shouting. Not pushing and shoving. Real chaos. And this is what happens when you let raw emotion boil over and nobody gets control of it quickly enough. One side charging on to celebrate, the other side reacting, and suddenly you have a derby ending, not with football talk, but with police lines and panic. The Scottish FA have already come out and condemned it and said an investigation will start straight away. Aye, of course they have. That is what they always say after the damage is done. Statement out, investigation promised, protocol mentioned, everyone acting shocked after one of the fiercest fixtures in the world boils over exactly as people feared it might. And there's another point here that shouldn't be brushed aside. This was one of the first Old Firm matches in a long while with a bigger away support back inside. It was meant to be a test, a chance to show the fixture could handle that kind of atmosphere again. Well, if this was the test, then the whole thing ended with the paper on fire. You even had reports of a player being shoved and one of their staff caught up in the madness. Players running back towards the trouble, blood on kits, police grabbing hold of a man near the scene. That is the sort of image that travels everywhere, and it shames the occasion. Now listen, nobody needs lectured on what this fixture is. Everybody knows it is explosive. Everybody knows there is history, bitterness, politics, religion, all of it wrapped into one poisoned rivalry. But that can never be used as an excuse for the game finishing like a street riot. And let's be honest here as well, this nonsense ends up handing the rival support another thing to gloat about. They get their win, then they get the pictures, then they get the headlines, and Rangers are left with the mess of it all inside our own ground. That is another kick in the teeth. Danny Rohl said afterwards he barely saw it and that nobody wants to see scenes like that. Quite right. Because whatever Fury supporters felt after the match, whatever rage was still boiling over, once it crosses into this, it stops being about backing your club and starts becoming a stain on the club. So now the football gets shoved aside again. Not the chances missed, not the decisions, not the collapse in penalties, no. Now it is all about the invasion, the fighting, the objects thrown, the blood, the investigation, the shame. And the brutal truth is this. On a day Rangers needed strength, discipline, and composure, the whole thing ended with Ibrox looking like a ground that had lost control of itself. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and back the channel for more Rangers content.